Friends, grace and mercy and peace be to you and to yours in these days. Thank you also for the privilege of your time spent right now to watch this orientation video, which I hope will help prepare you for our upcoming assembly meeting. That meeting is set for Tuesday, November 16th at 4 o'clock, and we're using the Zoom platform again. We hope by now you have all pre-registered for this meeting. You can click on the appropriate link, and then the Zoom system will send you a link for the actual meeting. The meeting packet, which is contained in the email with this video, should have everything you need for this meeting. For those who are brand new to an assembly meeting, whether a new ruling elder commissioner or a minister commissioner, I want to welcome you to this opportunity for service and hope that you will especially read the welcome commissioners part of the meeting packet. For this meeting, we are switching our usual order. We often begin with worship and then have our business as a thank offering to God. For this meeting, we are reversing that. We are beginning with our business portion, a kind of extended prelude and gathering for business, and then we will move into a time of worship. The main reason for this is so we have the opportunity to conclude our meeting with a celebration and a time of thanksgiving for the work and service of our retiring executive presbyter, Sue Crummell. Sue has been with us for these past 4 years, has served us well with great distinction, and we want to celebrate her and send her off to the next retirement, this next chapter in her life. So we hope you all will want to be a part of that experience. This will also be the concluding assembly meeting for our moderator, Mike Welf, and he and Sue together will be preaching and celebrating the Lord's Supper for us. We will have only a couple items of business in this meeting. The nominating committee will be presenting a slate of individuals who have answered the call to serve on various Presbyterian entities, and we want to thank them for taking up that call and encourage them in this upcoming work. If any want to be nominated from the floor, we would ask now that you be in touch with the nominating committee so they can brief you on that process. We are also asked to review and approve the 2022 Presbytery budget. 2022 is upon us very soon. Please note in that budget that we now have 2 sections of the budget, an operations section and a pass-through section. And if you have any questions on the proposed budget, please be in touch with me today or with our treasurer, Thomas Akompong. We will also have a first reading of an overture that is proposed by 2 sessions within our presbytery, the First United Church of Oak Park and Lakeview Presbyterian Church of Chicago. Please review this overture. It is before us for a first reading, but there will be time for some questions and some discussion on this overture. I say this every time, and I hope people will take me up on it. If you have any questions now, as you review the docket materials, the meeting packet, the budget, the reports, please be in touch with the moderator of that entity, with the staff person associated with that entity. This helps us tremendously to answer questions, which are important, and to save time during our Zoom meeting docket. We again want to keep our meeting limited to 2 hours. A reminder, if you have items of new business, those need to be to me by Monday, November 15, so we can get them on the docket. Thank you again for taking time to watch this video, and I look forward to seeing you all during our meeting on November 16. Thank you so much.
Greetings in the name of God our Father and our Lord and Savior Jesus the Christ. I'm Julie Peterson, and I'm the moderator of the Commission on Ministry. In this role, I have the joy of being able to share with you transitions in our pastoral leadership. I'll share them again later so we can put names to faces, but just here's some of the information I'd like to share with you today. We welcome to our Presbytery Mary Jo Dean Hudson, who is heading to Riverside, as well as Joy Smith, who was recently installed at the Presbyterian Church of Orland Park. We welcome you to the Presbytery of Chicago. Tassie Green is now the temporary pastor at Heritage in Carroll Stream. Susan Finley is the interim at Community Pres in Lombard. Stuart Barnes Jameson is heading to Carter Westminster in Skokie, and John Powell is headed to Community Pres in Mount Prospect. We celebrate with them and each of their congregations as their transitions occur and as things happen in their congregations. It is a delight to share in their joy. We also have some people who are retiring. As we all know, Sue Crummell is retiring the end of this year, and so there'll be more about that during the assembly. Cindy Karras is also retiring from Knox Pres in Naperville, and we'll have a few words and a prayer for her as well later. One more retirement. Dorothy Vallon is headed into retirement, and we celebrate with her on this new adventure in her life. One more thing I want to share with you is that we have been able as a commission to give scholarships to several people this last year, and we have received just joy-filled and grateful thank you notes from each of them. Scholarships is an important part of what we do as a commission to help people with their lifelong learning, to help them in their ministries as they glean and take on new ideas and new thoughts and new learnings to further our congregations. So if you're in need of any assistance with your continuing education or your lifelong learning process, please reach out and we'll see how we can help you in that and support you. And a reminder, the Commission on Ministry is here to help you, to walk alongside you, to celebrate with you, to journey with you through the ups and downs of ministry as pastors and leaders and congregations. So please reach out to your liaisons, share your celebrations, ask for assistance when you need a helping hand, walking at your side through transitions. We're here to help, and we're here praying for you and lifting you up, so that we all in this Presbytery of Chicago can bring hope in the name of Jesus the Christ. Thanks for listening. I'll see you at the assembly.
Hello, my name is Pauline Kaufman. I'm a member of First United Church of Oak Park and the author of the Overture that we will be considering on November 16th. The Overture is called Stop Using Empire Religion to Justify Colonial Domination in Israel and Palestine, Confronting Our Complicity in Global Colonialism, White Supremacy, and Exceptionalism. In May of this year, Israel once more bombed Gaza. Over 2,000 children, parents, families were killed by those bombs. Yes, the rockets came out of Gaza and were fired into Israel, but they were in retaliation for Israeli actions to move Palestinians out of their homes in Sheikh Jarrah, a neighborhood in East Jerusalem. And it was also in retaliation for the troops from the Israeli Defense Forces invading the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount during the month of Ramadan when Muslims were there in prayer. Gaza is it's in a siege right now. It's surrounded by a wall, and it has been for several years now. They have nothing that will push the Israelis to pay attention to them other than these kinds of random acts of violence. But that's not a solution. Something has to change. So this overture is written to connect the new awareness we're getting in this country to the actions we have taken through the doctrine of discovery, the colonial people from Christopher Columbus in 1492 on through the complete domination of the United States, taking the land away from Native Americans. That's colonialism that we are responsible for. We've been reading more and more about white supremacy and the problems related to that and how exceptional we are, and that things like the doctrine of discovery have given us God's permission to do so. Doesn't the same thing apply in the Middle East? Isn't that what's happening with Israel? Beyond the bullet points that are the actions that the overture calls for, the rationale is in three parts. The first part explains why and how this is being related to the doctrine of discovery, which can include manifest destiny, the Monroe Doctrine, which were statements made after we took land from Mexico, from Native Americans, and justified the way we did it. All of that is a rationale used by the church based on the Pope's declaration in 1493 that if you take land, if white Christians take land, white Christian men take land, it's their right to do so because God gave them the instruction to take the land, make it their home, convert the people who lived there. If they didn't want to convert, move them into reservations or somewhere, settlements, get settlements to take over the land. It's the same thing, whether it's Christianity or Zionism. The second part of the overture talks about complicity in Zionism. There's a paragraph there on page 3. First of all, I should explain that empire religion is defined on page 2 of the overture, toward the top. Empire religion refers to the use of religion to dominate others, using violence and economic exploitation to do so. It incorporates a theology of entitlement that generates anti-human values, policies, and practices, as Walter Brueggemann says in his book, Out of Babylon. Christian beliefs, on the other hand, and Judaic values, value care for the neighbor, feeding the hungry, welcoming the stranger, visiting those in prison. In short, it cares for the community. It does not foster stereotypes about Jews or Native Americans or Arabs or any other group. So, on to the second part, complicity in Zionism. There's a paragraph more about anti-Semitism, about 4 down on the page 3. It is anti-Semitic to attribute negative generalizations about Jews as a race of people. It is not anti-Semitic to criticize the political ideology of Zionism. It is not anti-Semitic to support full equality for all inhabitants between the river and the sea, whether in 2 states, a binational state, unitary democratic state, federal state, or in whatever form, as the Jerusalem Declaration on Anti-Semitism states. That was a document in which Jewish academics and theologians gathered in Jerusalem in March of 2021 to add comment to the International Holocaust Remembrance Association's definition of anti-Semitism, which does not deal with Israel at all. So the JDA adds several clauses that say what is anti-Semitism when criticizing Israel, and then it concludes with 5 additional points that spell out what is not anti-Semitic when criticizing Israeli government actions. Take a look at it. The web address is given. Finally, complicity in Christian Zionism. Chicago Presbytery sent an overture to General Assembly in 2004. I remember. I was a commissioner and the overture advocate for that overture. I presented it to the committee. It was sent to the plenary for discussion and debate, and it was adopted. We rejected Christian Zionism back in 2004. The trouble is, it was before most people even knew it existed. Now it is spreading, and we're learning just last week from Japan that it is now present in Hinduism, in Buddhism, in Zionism, in a number of different religions who are adopting Zionism, Christian Zionism, as their rationale for supporting Israel. And it seems to be based primarily on the idea that if you praise Israel, God will reward you. And which is it's a riches kind of a theology. And there's a recent book published by a graduate of McCormick Seminary who is a theological professor in a seminary in Africa. She's edited the book Christian Zionism in Africa, and it's the same thing. Christian Zionism is spreading across the globe, and it is something that our church has repudiated. We need to make a emphatic statement today that does the same thing. Finally, the overture ends with Walter Brueggemann's emphasis on 1 Corinthians 12:31. Find a more excellent way as Christians, a way that consists in hospitality, generosity, and forgiveness. There are some maps at the end of the overture. One shows the famous map of Israel and the West Bank. The West Bank territory is dwindling as Israel takes more and more land from the Palestinians. And it is compared with this map of the United States, which shows how colonial settlers from Christopher Columbus on down took land from Native American tribes and left them with reservations dotted throughout the landscape. We're now dealing with the aftermath of that terrible part of our history. Finally, there's a handout on the back page that summarizes some of the ways that Israel dominates the reality for Palestinians. I hope you will consider this overture, talk about it. It's going through San Francisco Presbytery at the same time, and I look forward to the discussion and debate. I want there to be discussion of this overture. Thank you for listening.
Hi, everybody. I've been asked to talk a little bit about the Pastor Supplement Grant here at Hope Presbyterian Church. I'm Pastor Jay Moses. A little bit of our work together with the Presbytery during this time. Well, one of the greatest things about the Supplement Grant was just being seen. We had to kind of be in consultation with the Presbytery and talk to them about where exactly the church was at. And so being able to assess or take a time of accounting of your church is always a helpful thing to do to see where you are and maybe where you want to go. But it also gave us a sense of being a part of a connectional church. So we had consultants come in from New Beginnings who worked with us in several different time periods. And it was a great time to use the New Beginnings material as a tool to assess where we've been in our past, where we are right now, and where the future may lie for us. It was also a great tool to just get the congregation talking. And part of the assessment and the process that we went through is having house meetings in homes for folks to talk from whatever background they came from and perspective about what was important to them. So it's a very much from below approach as far as doing church work and revitalization. Another great part of this is this last year that I'm in is being in a cohort of other pastors and other churches. And we meet with a director each month, and we share our lives as pastors trying to lead in churches that are seeking revitalization or to continue the revitalization that God has already begun. Here at Hope, there's a little bit of a seed of intercultural witness. And so with the murder of George Floyd, we came up with different ways to express our witness to the community here in South Wheaton and in DuPage County. And part of that was putting up some signs out in front of the church, which we found out isn't free to do and takes a little bit of money to do. But we put that out there to make a witness and to be in line with some of the core values we have here at Hope, as far as treating people like they matter to God by showing how they matter to us. We also started an education program with an African-American church that's housed or nested here at Hope called Be the Bridge. And that has been a great connection and discussion during this time and context in the United States. that these efforts continue, and education and witness continue, but they've all been affirmed by this process and support by the grant. Some of the great conversations we've had have been the difference between a membership church and a missional church. One defined by its budget and one defined by its mission, or one defined by its membership, or maybe those whom God has called. Another thing that we assessed during this time is the space itself. And like lots of churches, we have a real opportunity to connect with other cultural churches and people of faith in our sanctuaries and buildings. And so Bethel New Life, which is an African-American church, is a part of that. But also we realized that we have space below us that we would like to use for mission. Now, we're living in COVID times and pandemics, so we began this process before the pandemic and find ourselves, hopefully, God willing, coming through to better times. So a lot of the discussion that we've had about being at work in the community and nesting those places within the church for their own good have still to be done. But they've been a conversation that has been very fruitful for the people here at Hope. We continue to move forward and understand church not as a noun, but as a verb to be discovered, but also to discern what the witness is that's particular here to Hope. And this pastor supplement grant has given me, as a pastor, the opportunity to do some of that searching with the congregation and to have extra resources for mission, like I've mentioned here at Hope. So I hope that this is giving you a little slice of what we've done here at Hope and seek to continue to do, and perhaps spark in you the desire for common witness with the Presbytery and the good work they do.